Rita, one of the emerging trends we see coming in is this idea of ESG and all of the impacts of that. How do you see CPAs and CGMAs playing a role in ESG going forward?
Yeah, I think it's an area where, some companies are just scratching the surface and some have jumped in a big way. I think the ESG culminates in reporting. And if you think about where a CPA or a CGMA really has expertise, it's in reporting. So I think the value that a CPA or a CGMA will be able to bring is in how to ensure that there's good controls, quite frankly, over the information that's going into a company's corporate responsibility report, their ESG report. The same discipline and rigor that's in their financial statements is where you ultimately need to get to. So I think it's an evolving trend that, I had these conversations with a lot of my counterparts at other companies, and we're all figuring out how our teams play a role, and I think we're all starting to play a bigger role, and I think that will only help the quality of the ESG reports. At Merck we issued a green bond, and that green bond is tied to green initiatives, and there's obviously a reporting aspect that goes along with it to ensure that the proceeds from the green bond are being used for those initiatives. So that's an area where finance and accounting will be playing a role to ensure that we're pulling together the information to the bondholders so they understand how those proceeds are being used in accordance with the framework that was laid out within the green bond that we issued.
Yeah, so there's a whole nother layer to all of this stuff that we see on the headlines in the Wall Street Journal about ESG, and then what has to go into that kind of reporting process. So that's a great example. I suspect diversity, equity, inclusion, DEI will be something on the horizon that could end up in that notion of accountability and reporting, as well as other trends that we're starting to see on the horizon.
Yeah, the social is extremely broad within the ESG, and I think there's obviously a lot of strategy that goes into it in terms of the goals that companies set out. And again, I think finance and accounting has an important role to play in helping to ensure that we're tracking against those, but also making sure we're setting up the right processes around ensuring that when we're reporting our progress against the goals we've set, that people can rely on that information and that data.
The interesting thing is, in our talks with high school students thinking about a career in accounting and finance, they love to hear this kind of stuff